So one of the big American dreams is to own your own home. And unfortunately, it's getting increasingly difficult due to tons of economic factors. But if you're fortunate enough to be a homeowner, you're one of the few in the world that can do that. And the funny thing about the term homeowner is, for most people, they don't own their home for at least 30 years. And so this idea that you own a home, you technically don't. You owe a bank for a mortgage. And if you're fortunate enough, 30 years from when you make this arrangement with the bank, that you'll pay it off. And so why I'm mentioning this is today's a huge day for me, my wife and I and my family, is that in this envelope is a letter and will be a check to pay off the balance of our mortgage. And not only have we realized our dream of owning a home, we technically will own it as soon as I drop this off at the post office as a certified letter to the bank. Huge day. And why it's a huge day is not only this monument of financial stability and all these other things, is that I made a deal with my wife. It wasn't in writing, but a deal with my wife a few years ago that once we paid off the house, I could retire. And so technically in about an hour, I will be able to retire. I'm not going to retire, but this was the nice carrot I've had dangling over in front of my head for the last several years, is getting to this point. And to be honest, we could have paid off the house a while ago. But it was just one of these things where just with the market and everything else, it didn't make any sense to pay it off. But now it does. And things are bad now. It actually works out in our favor in this one time. And so, I mentioned in my blue collar video, and I recommend anyone watching it, if they know someone or in a point in their life where they're looking for inspiration, change, validation, I don't know. But this is one of the things that I kind of alluded to as far as what the blue collar lifestyle allowed me to do. And it's allowed me and my wife, us to do, is get to this milestone in 21 years. So yeah, huge day. Gonna head off to the bank, get that certified check, and then go to the post office and hand it off to them as a certified letter. And I'm gonna leave a few more things to talk about in between then. And here's the thing about the retirement part. There's a saying that, not saying, but there's an idea, and there's a lot to that anecdotally is true, is that when you retire and all you know is work, you'll know within 6 months whether or not you survive. I think, I actually heard the stat recently, but it's bad. Like most people, if they worked all of their lives and retire within 6 months, they don't survive, or their health dramatically dwindles. And that's just because they don't have any healthy habits or hobbies outside of their work. And so what they do is they find this kind of crisis, identity crisis, generally late in life, about who they are, what motivates them, what keeps them going, and everything else. And fortunately, I don't have that problem. I've got plenty of things I want to do. But that said, with this arrangement, this agreement I had with my wife, wow, I'm just trying to get all stuff in my pockets. I didn't want to rush to pay off the house because it kind of left, like I said, a carrot in front of me to try to keep things going. I'm getting ready to leave. And so that's the rub, like it being able to have that kind of freedom. I didn't want to rush into it because I didn't know how I'd react and how I'd respond to that, even though I think I'll be fine. But you never know, right? And here's the thing: I'm a business owner, a freelancer, really, from being honest, not really an entrepreneur. Owning a business and trying to be a freelancer, an entrepreneur, whatever, it's not like you can turn it off and on whenever you want. You're at the whim of all kinds of different forces that you have not that much control over. And this is something I keep in the back of my mind. It's like, I don't want to work that much, and I frankly don't work that much. But at some point, I'm getting kind of worried that the two intersections, they start to diverge, and I would get myself into a position where I need to work, but can't work, or don't have as many opportunities. But that said, with me dropping off this letter, it opens up major possibilities and decreases a lot of probabilities, or decreases a lot of stress in my life. So one of the biggest the biggest expense anyone has in the Western world is your mortgage or rent. And if you own a home, it's a mortgage. If you rent, it's your rent payment. If you don't own a home and it's a rent payment, like, it's hands down the biggest expense, and I'm not going to have that in about 45 minutes, an hour. So that's a lot of stress off my life and things I don't have to worry about. And all these other arrangements I made just allow those to grow with time. And my wife is still working, and she loves it, and she's killing it. And we're just incredibly, incredibly fortunate. Oh, so here's the thing is about the identity part, at least as it pertains to me. Like, my job isn't my identity. It's part of me, definitely, but I don't think it's my main identity. But what I just mentioned about my wife killing it at work, and here, the identity part, it's not necessarily the identity, but it's the dynamics of what it means to be a man and being a provider, and all of these labels that we have to assign ourselves, gender roles that we have to assign ourselves, and that's where it gets tricky, and it can be tricky. I think I would have been a great at-home dad, but that it would have been really, really tough. It would have psychologically really tough, and I am just being mindful of this idea that for the next few years, or whatever, next 10 years, that maybe I'm not necessarily working all that much, but I'm providing and contributing to our household, and on top of the stuff, the investments and stuff that we have, that came as a result of my work. It's tricky. But this could be a dime. My diamond shoes are too tight, and it very much is. But these are the things that no one talks about, because this idea of owning your home, literally owning your own home, literally retiring. These are aspirational things. Few people achieve it, and like I said, with that 6-month stat after retirement, few people get to enjoy it. Achieving something and being able to enjoy it are two completely different things, and I want to be able to enjoy both. And it's just funny that what society puts on you, and what you put on yourself due to society's pressures, is that it kind of sets you up to not be able to achieve either. And I don't want to fall in that trap. And so these are just thoughts. It's like and that's the thing, is that most people will never achieve either of these things, right? And it's aspirational, and so it's one of these things where most people don't have to worry about it. But it is a carrot at the end of the end of the stick. Got the check in hand. That took a little while. They got a new system at the bank. And that said, my bank is a community bank, and I highly, highly recommend, if you have a community bank in your community, to use it. And I specifically came to this branch because I've known Mrs. Walker for decades now, and it's just really refreshing knowing, just the whole point of community banks is building relationships. And when I go to branches, many of them people recognize me at these branches, but I wanted to go to this one because Mrs. Walker knows how to handle relatively complicated transactions like this. And that said, she's got a college age son, and I told her what the purpose of this cashier's check was for, and mentioned also it's a big month for us because our son's graduating in 3 weeks. So it is a very, very, very big month for us. And yeah, I mean, my son is debt-free as far as his education, well, period. And that's another check and financial milestone and life milestone in our lives is not burdening our son with debt from college. And this is a decision we made when he was a fetus. Okay. And part of one of the main largest reasons why we're able to do all these things, have this check that I'm about to go to the post office to drop off, having my son graduate on time in 3 weeks without any college debt, which is like absolutely rare, and have a surplus, in fact, is because of sacrifice in the very, very beginning. And this is really, really tough. It's because it was tough making all of these sacrifices in the beginning and seeing, I hate to say it, keeping with the Joneses, seeing all this other stuff that people are living their biggest and best lives, but they're starting families, and it's just like, can you sustain that? And I, being the optimistic pessimist, and coming from a household that was always worried about money, I took the safe route, and which was frankly huge. Could have done it the way I was raised and was surrounded by, and just leverage, and hope for the best at the end. Whereas we didn't leverage. We bankrolled everything in the beginning, made very extremely conservative choices financially, that in the hopes that if everything goes to heck, we would still be ahead. And knowing that we're in the black with my son as far as his finances, everything is just it's all pure profit for him. Doesn't have to worry about any obscene interest rate college loan, and we don't have to pay bank interest on our home is huge. So let me get to the post office so I can get this letter certified and get the heck out of Dodge. Okay, so when I got here, the parking lot was pretty empty, and it's noon, and this was a very, very busy post office, but I had the great service, incredibly helpful young woman. It cost $20 to mail a registered letter, $18.60 for the registered part, 73 cents for a letter, for a stamp, first class stamp. Anyway, we are officially now homeowners, and I sent my wife a text with the letter, and the zip code didn't match up. But this is the thing of paying $20 to make sure a letter gets to where it's supposed to be, is that you could totally have the wrong address, I guess, and it'll get there, or you at least know it didn't get there. Yeah, so homeowner now, kids graduating high school, graduating college, completely debt-free, big life moment for us. I guess I could say I'm semi-retired now, and yeah, it feels good. And this is the thing, again, all these things that just happen are totally aspirational, especially now. When I was actually in the bank, there was a woman who she's probably 10, 15 years older than me, and she 15 years older than me would be 70 years old. Maybe she was 10 years older than me. She was cashing a bunch of E-bonds. If you don't know, these are treasury bonds, and that was one of the reasons why we were able to finance my son's education. And I was just telling the lady, the customer, that we benefited from it It was an extremely conservative, in retrospect, extremely conservative investment, but in hindsight, it was probably the safest one we could have made. No one could have predicted the way the stock market was going to go the last 15 years, especially in now the last 4 weeks, which is one of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing now and paying off the house. Is the market is tanked, and this is my tanked and then rebounded. But like, you know, if we leveraged our son's education on the hopes that the stock market was going to do well all the time and had to pay his tuition right when the market tanked, we would have been absolutely screwed. So again, you know, when you are a good investor, you spread your risks across a bunch of different instruments, and I like to think we were good investors because all these things we just checked off today. And that was the thing. Was funny is a few weeks ago we sent the last tuition payment, and you know, my wife mentioned to me, it's like, that was the last big bill we're gonna ever have for his education, because he's not getting any more degrees. It doesn't need any more degrees, and it was got his education pennies on the dollar, relatively speaking. So big day. Thanks for watching. Probably sharing a lot more than I ever wanted to as far as finances, but then this is the thing, is that there are a lot of there's so much fake it till you make it advice, influencers or whatever on the internet, and very few people actually can say that they know what the hell they're doing. I'm not saying we know what the hell we were doing, but man, we've just checked off all these major boxes and did it. There's no faking it. It was done. Whether or not it could have done better doesn't really matter, but because we got it done. And so, you know, I could talk a lot about that stuff. I really rather not, just because people get really, as much because people get all freaking upset about their health and being pointed out that they're not achieving their goals. Like, money is just a whole different, finances are a whole different ballgame. But you know, we did it, and I've done, like, checked all of the major boxes that you're supposed to, a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s was supposed to do, and done, dusted. And if you want some advice, drop me a message, leave a comment. But it can be done. I've done it. We've done it. And thanks for watching, and thanks for following along.